What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. Now, today we're going to get into a few different updates, talk about what we've been doing, and then we're going to talk about Hobby Burnout, because it is 2020, and shit hits the fan every day. So we want to dive into that. But first, what have you been up to, Brent?
Oh, today's a good update. Last week I was on Warhammer Weekly with Vince Venturella, and this was actually my first time meeting Vince. So this was a big day for me. So if you don't know who Vince is, go check out YouTube. Vince Venturella. He's got a ton of tutorials under the name Hobby Cheating, and he also has a weekly kind of podcast thing live on YouTube, Warhammer Weekly, and they talk about, all the news coming out of the Warhammer community, and they talk about, I don't know, Warhammer stuff for a good hour and a half, 2 hours. And yeah, this week I got to be a part of the magic, so I'm really happy about that. Vince is a pillar of the hobby community, very good painter, a real strong personality in our little world here, and it was my first time getting to meet him, and so all in all, a good day.
That sounds awesome. What'd you guys talk about?
We talked about something I don't actually know a lot about, which is how to churn out armies, how to plan and paint and acquire, and how to plan, acquire, paint armies. And so I was able to talk about, some of the steps in there, how to plan paint schemes and how to conceptualize an army. But I actually haven't had any armies rolling off of my assembly line. Not all the way complete, not 2,000 points at least.
Close to it, somewhere around there. What was the last one you did where it was the Slaves to Darkness? Was that 800, 900 points? It's a good chunk.
I think it was only 650. Yeah, that Star Collecting box.
Just trying to make it sound better. It's all right.
I appreciate that, Casey. 650 is still good. That's still a game.
It's good. It is just still really good. That's 500-point games. Some people like to play just 500-point games. So, yeah, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, Vince is kind of famous for, I think he has 16 or 17 complete armies. Yeah,
the number changes seemingly weekly. Last reported was 56, 17 this week. Who knows? It's a lot.
It's a lot.
More than most normal people in the hobby.
Yeah. Well, the important thing is at least one of the people on that episode was very well qualified to be talking about what they were talking about. And I helped where I could. And yeah, I mean, as with any podcast, as long as half of the hosts sort of know what they're talking about, they should be able to carry it through almost anything.
That makes sense. So as long as one of us is having an all right day, we're fine.
That's right.
That makes sense. We'll see how that goes.
So we're about 5 minutes into this podcast, if that, and we got some cats scratching at the door. So Casey, I'm going to need you to stall for a while. I'm going to let this cat
stall for a while. All right. Well, then I'm gonna pick up kind of from episode 1, if you all remember back to that one. So my wife's been out of town. She's been on vacation, and so I got a lot of time to do some stuff. I was cleaning out the house. I was painting some dark Eldar racks, and Eldar, dark Eldar.
What did I miss? We're talking about racks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, racks on racks. No, I was stalling because I was going to talk about how I had some extra time last week to kind of clean my hobby space, clean my house a little bit. I'm selling some couches, much like other things I've done in the past. But I had a good amount of time, and I got to paint some Dark Eldar, and I was actually very excited to do so. And I was going to ask you what the deal is with Dark Eldar, because racks are really cool, but Capitalite Warriors.
Me to disagree.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, this makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So Dark Eldar is built upon 3 pillars.
Mm.
There are the witches, the scantily clad gladiator elves who ride very fast jet bikes and very fast
Mm-hmm.
hoverboards. So you get your gladiator elves, those are the witches.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got your Kabalite warriors, the classic Dark Eldar warriors, who are
Yeah.
maybe similar, but a little bit more heavily armored, or they're covering a little bit more skin with that jagged, pointy armor of theirs.
A lot of points.
And then you have the homunculi and the racks and the grotesques. So the kind of mad science experiment, terrible
Yeah.
flesh crafting gone wrong side of things. And I gotta tell you, I am a bigger fan of the other two pillars of the Dark Eldar Society. I
See,
am
that's
I
very
am more of
interesting.
a warrior and a witch kind of person. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're really into racks, I think that maybe that balances us out.
Yeah, because I was thinking this, like, I sent you that homunculus
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago, and we've never actually talked about this really after the fact. In that video, you said, "Oh, I don't know if Casey knows, but I collect Dark Eldar," and I'm sitting there watching it, like, yeah, I knew that. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
sent that to you. But that you said that you'd never painted a homunculus before
That's
was
true.
was a little it was strange to me. So now I get it, because I'm looking at the Kabalite warriors and thinking, I just don't like this. I don't like the spikiness. Like that, it feels more like Kiss as a band. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
okay.
It's like it's that, and not that there's nothing to like about that, but I don't particularly go for it, right? But the homunculus and these racks definitely speak to me, and it's probably because I'm more of a Nurgle kind of guy,
I think so.
and that's just right there. And since I've never seen any of this other stuff, I've always seen the warriors, I've seen the witches, but I've never seen racks in person, and I've never seen any of these other grotesques. And I've always kind of been like, yeah, Dark Eldar is fine, it's fine. But now I'm intrigued.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I actually do have some very beat up racks in my own collection. Maybe we'll be able to work a little deal
Mm.
here, Casey, if you need more of those. And I'll admit, I started watching your most recent video, and I got to the
Yeah.
point where you were about to chop up perfectly good dark elves to
Yeah, I
improve some
bet.
racks, and your alter ego said that was a terrible idea, and I'm like,
You're like, yeah,
weird
yeah, it
Casey
is.
is right, strange Casey is right. And then I think I got distracted and stopped watching the video, so I assume you destroyed some perfectly good Dark Eldar and Dark Elves, and
So yeah, I've had these Dark Elf Corsairs or whatever they are. Like I got sent them from a warp crate,
mm-hmm.
and they've just been sitting around. I don't know what to do with them. They're actually they like mostly fine shape. They're fine, but I don't know. These racks are just cooler models, and they needed the help, so I figured why not? Because then I have bits from the Corsairs if I need anything else. They have some cool heads on them. If I want to do some head swaps for elves or something else. One of them has a pretty fancy banner, so if I need that for something, I mean, there's potential in a lot of the parts on those models. They're not overly spiky, and they're not overly like smooth curvature like some of the other elves are in fantasy. So they seem pretty good for multi-purpose stuff. And I did check the price on that unit before. I can get a unit of them, 10 of them, for like $15
Okay.
on eBay. So
Okay.
it's not like the end of the world. It's not like a $40 box of, Corsairs or something.
Right. Yeah, a friend of mine gave me a project to work on, and this is a little bit of a tangent here, but they gave me a Star Trek toy ship to work on, and
Okay.
it was something that I got really excited about. They gave me the USS Defiant, and I'm forgetting the name of
Oh,
the
okay.
toy line right now, but it's a 1.5 foot USS Defiant, and it's really cool. And this toy line also has get the Enterprise D, and You can get Romulan warbird, you get a Klingon Vorcha battle cruiser, and there's a lot of cool stuff in this line. And the idea was like, okay, do like a repaint on. It's not exactly a model; it's a toy, but it's like a pretty nice looking toy.
Sure.
And so I was like really excited to do this repaint, and then I go look up the prices on eBay, and the Enterprise D is like $10. The Vorcha cruiser is like $10-15. Romulan Warbird maybe that. The Defiant is like more than $100. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh.
Like never mind. I'm not gonna be repainting this, am I? This would be a mistake.
Yeah, there are definitely models that you find that are like that you don't want to just cut up, okay?
Right.
And I put a disclaimer in that video saying, look, don't just go cutting up your stuff. Like, if it's been sitting and you don't want it, it's not worth anything, whatever, that's fine. But don't go cutting up a Defiant that's worth over $100 or repainting it,
Right. Well, I'm glad you can get more of those plastic elves, because they are cool elves, and maybe someday
cool.
you'll want them just the way they were meant to be,
Yeah, and in that case, it's just a matter of getting some arms. I figure at some point, I'd probably just go back and make a video about saving these models that I destroyed and printing out the parts and just sticking them back on and be like, see.
There you go.
You worried for nothing.
There you go.
So you didn't even make it past that point. That's a little sad, Brent.
I saw the thumbnail. The finished models looks good. What do you want?
I want your undivided attention for 17 to 23 minutes.
I'll get there.
It's okay. I didn't watch your Vince Venturella interview.
That's okay. See, we're even.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else? Oh, after my Vince interview, I was on a live stream with Zambies and Eeny Meenies and Heath. They were doing a charity fundraiser cancer stream thing, and they were like, hey, do you want to sit in this and hang out? And so I did a special guest appearance. Not that I had a camera on, but I was sitting and hanging out and chat, and assembled a chimera from the Warcry line. Which is okay model. Okay.
Yeah. They look good.
Oh. And right now I'm gearing up in a day or two here. I gotta be ready to do an interview with mini wargamer Dave.
Dave, yeah.
Yeah. So
that should be cool.
Shrine of Chaos. I got an interview lined up on that. So
nice.
And I'm busy over here, but you
yeah.
You make any new online friends recently, Casey? Or
actually, yeah. So I'm doing a collaboration, a pretty fun one that I don't want to spoil too much. It's gonna be basically we're gonna be playing a game of Age of Sigmar or Warcry, probably Warcry, live. But obviously, I'm in the U.S. and Oliver at Broadsword Wargaming. Yeah, so him and I have been chatting a bunch, and we're going to do something cool. Yeah, so it should be, we're thinking October, end of October, maybe early November.
Cool.
But trying to do something pretty, like, we talked about it, trying not to make it like a lazy collaboration, if you know what I mean.
I do.
It's like,
I do.
Yeah, we just kind of talk, videos the same as it always ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Something pretty straightforward. Like we're trying to avoid that actively. So hopefully it should be pretty cool. He's a cool dude.
So you're trying to play. You're trying to actually play a game with somebody in a different country live.
Yes. Not necessarily live as in like live streaming, but we're going to set up cameras so that like I'll have a camera on my dice. I'll have all my stuff for my army. I'm shipping him something, like I said, probably Warcry, so it's probably going to be a warband, and then he'll have somebody moving those figures for me that I'll be talking to, but I'll be able to see everything, and we'll be able to communicate as if we were in the same room together. So it's an interesting thought, and we're hoping to make it work.
All right.
Yeah.
No, that does sound very interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I hope it does work out. You figure it out, Casey. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna figure it out because I would love to play some Warcry.
So are you painting
It's been too long.
I mean, maybe don't give too much away, but I guess a possibility is that you're painting 2 of the same warband and sending one overseas?
No, I am just gonna be sending him one. I'm gonna be painting one specifically for the collab. So
So are
yeah,
there
and
going to be two physical manifestations of the game board, or are you going to be?
No, I'll be watching it.
Oh, okay.
Like
Okay.
what I'm planning on, I think right now what we're planning on doing is having a feed come in through whatever connection of an overhead cam on the entire board so that I can see what's going on. And then yeah, I'll be talking to probably his girlfriend
Right.
to do measuring and stuff. But I mean, I'll have a copy of the cards and all the stuff, and I'll be rolling my own dice. So it should work out. If they can do it in Tabletop Simulator, we can do it.
Hey, I'm excited. You know, I still like the idea of you having like 3 or 4 different monitors set up with like different views of the table, and then you know, beaming your instructions across the ocean to...
Yes.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
It just sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's play Warhammer like,
Yeah.
6,000 miles apart or whatever it is.
Yeah, I've heard of somebody else maybe putting together a little project where somebody named Penny is going to be an avatar for folks to play games.
Okay, sure.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
More on that later, maybe, you know?
Yeah, whenever they decide to do
I
it.
don't want to spill any beans there, but...
I think you kind of just did. Like...
No, don't spill any more, Casey.
All right, I'm just saying, in our entire space, there's only one person by that name. It's like, like of anybody we could be talking about right now.
Yeah, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
So I see here in the notes you are selling some couches.
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
We don't need to dwell on that for sure. Yeah.
No.
All right. What else is new with you, Casey? Anything?
Well, other than Dark Eldar, I actually got a little bit of time to paint something for myself. And I just posted it on Instagram a little earlier, so it'll be out. And I'll see if I can have Matt throw this up on the screen too. For anybody watching at youtube.com/paintbravely the podcast, then this picture will go up. But I painted the Pale Man, like a bust. The Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth. You seen that movie?
I have. It's been a while, but yes, I have.
Wow. Yeah. It came out 2006, so yeah, it's been a long while. But yeah, a creepy creature. He puts his hands over his face and he's got the eyes in his hands. Yeah. So I actually found just randomly, like, I think it was My Mini Factory, just browsing around. I saw a 3D sculpt of it and it was free. So I thought, okay, cool. And I downloaded it and it printed in a couple hours and it was really good. So I actually painted it. And yeah, you can't tell it's a 3D sculpt so much. It's actually very well done for being a free.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I actually took some time and painted it. It was very exciting.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Instagram content at least.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't gonna make a video or anything. I thought about it, but yeah, doesn't seem like, I don't know. It'd just be like, here's this cool thing I did. Yeah.
Sometimes that's a video, you know?
Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, ready to launch into the main topic here today?
Yeah, let's hit the main topic head on and talk about Hobby Burnout. So, what is hobby burnout, Brent? What's your definition?
Oh, you're just losing the motivation to paint. If you do get around to painting, you're not having as much fun with it as you should, and it starts to feel more and more like a chore. All the typical things you associate with the word burnout. But
Yeah.
we decided to talk about this today, partially because this is a good year to talk about burnout. I don't know when you're listening to this, but as we're recording this, we're about 6 months into COVID being a very big part of everyone's lives. So a lot of folks are spending less time with other people these days and more time with themselves these days. And maybe haven't left the house as much in the last 6 months as they normally do. And, folks definitely are feeling burnout and worse. So first off, as we're talking about burnout and maybe not having as much fun with your hobbies as you used to, think about whether it's maybe early signs of depression. And I don't think either of us are great resources on that, but do use this as a little measurement to check to think is maybe something bigger going on here, and do whatever Googling and reaching out and talking to friends that you need to do if that may be an issue. But everybody has been maybe a little bit glum this year, and
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So it's a good time to talk about burnout. And then the other thing that kind of motivated this episode is a few of our favorite YouTube folks have put out videos recently, specifically talking about burnout. And to a degree, that was, talking about burnout in making videos and doing the hobby, kind of a combination of the two. But Jazza, Blackmagic Craft, Miniac, all in the last month or so put out videos titled, "I Don't Like What I've Become, Time for a Change, and the Drastic Necessary Change in My Hobby."
Two varying levels of intensity, I would suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, yeah, Casey, tell us a little bit about that. Start in on that.
Well, a couple of it. So I think that Scott and Jazza are pretty similar in what they were talking about. Just doing the same thing day in, day out, especially being content creators. Looking at the stuff that we used to do for fun as like your job, right? This is your job. That can get old pretty quick. Like if you feel like you're obligated to do all of this stuff, then yeah, that's gonna kind of feed into that burnout feeling. As far as Blackmagic Craft goes, Jeremy was talking about being tired of one aspect of his hobby and needing something fresh. So he kind of was switching from one thing to another thing in order to fix that. And we'll kind of, go through that a little bit more later. But that's essentially kind of where they were at in talking about burnout in general. So if you see something like a job, then that's for sure a way to kind of cause burnout. And I've personally felt that a little bit, like twinges of that, just occasionally if it's a week where I don't actually want to paint that thing, but then I go, well, this is the week that you said you were going to do this thing. So, just got to do it. Or commissions specifically for me were causing some real issues there for a little while. And that really made me not want to paint.
And you figured out a way around that commission issue?
Yeah. Finishing them and not taking any more.
Okay, you identified a problem and you found a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that in itself, what you just said, identifying the problem is a pretty big part of the whole thing. Like if it's, every time I sit down to paint, well, somebody calls me and I have to go do something. Like, that's going to get pretty old pretty quick. So maybe maybe you're sitting down at the wrong time. Change it up.
Yeah, I know. So Jazza in his video, he was talking about really getting wrapped up in the numbers of his videos, and how, in his case, trying to make videos has changed what he's doing for his hobby time, his hobby/work time. And then, in his case, he was putting apparently a lot of his self-worth into the numerical feedback on his projects.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I mean, that's a real thing, YouTube does a really good job of giving statistics back to creators in terms of how many people are watching and how long they're watching for and all that sort of stuff. And, Jazza talked about this very much two-edged sword of YouTube will take your last 10 videos and it will tell you how many views they had, 1 day into the video being live, or 2 days, or 17 and a half hours, or whatever. And so when you upload a video, you can see, is this video doing better than your last 10 videos or worse than your last 10 videos? Or, it literally ranks it from 1 to 10 of, hey, this video is doing really well compared to your normal, or really not well compared to your normal. And, Jazz was talking
it's
about...
so volatile.
It's volatile, but also it's such a strong feedback mechanism that isn't necessarily related to your own feeling of how much you liked the project.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm not burned out right now. I'm feeling good. But I will also tell you that my last 2 videos in a row were ranked 10 of 10.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm laughing about it, and I'm actually gearing up to try to go 3 in a row.
Go 3 out of 3.
Yeah. So I decided to lean into it. The next video is going to be a hobby science video, which, traditionally it's fun for me to make because I like, thinking about science. But it is a little bit more educational, so less people are likely to click on it in their entertainment time, So
I suppose
I'm going to go for a hat trick, going to go for 3 10 out of 10 videos in a row, which will mean that, 2 videos ago was 8 out of 10 now, so that's all right.
That's really where it gets you, right? Like, was it last month, I think, or it might have been the month before, I don't know, some 4-week span of time, just recently, I had 4 1 out of 10s.
Did you really?
So, the whole month. And it was like solid growth. Everything was like up, feeling good. But immediately I'm going, okay, the next, I don't know how long, is going to be like, if I look at this and think about it in the wrong way, it's going to look depressing. And sure enough, like, I haven't even come close. And so all the video, this video is performing terribly compared to your, and not that it actually says that, but that's what you're kind of like led, the road that you're led down by YouTube. And that's why I was saying it is kind of volatile, because it gives you the information, but in such like a non-emotional, here are the raw numbers kind of way, like, well, here's how it compares to the last 10, and this is 10 out of 10. Like, you are doing something wrong. And it's like, you're probably not. Like, if you had fun making the video, like, you make science videos, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that you are on the line where you could pretty much make whatever video you want, and it's not like you're gonna start seeing that negative subscriber number. People aren't just gonna be clicking away, going, "Oh, I can't take it anymore. Look at all these canoes. I just can't do it." Like, it's not gonna happen.
Well, there's a point.
I mean, there is a point.
But
I seriously doubt you're even close to that point right now. Like, it's fine. And that is my point.
Right.
Is that it says 10 out of 10. That does not mean that you made something bad.
I appreciate that, Casey. I don't need to be talked down.
Oh, I know.
I don't need to
I'm
be
sharing.
talked down from a ledge. Yeah.
I'm sharing with people. There are people listening, Brett. They don't understand.
Yeah. And of course, most of the folks listening probably don't make YouTube videos, but a good percentage of the folks listening probably do have an Instagram account, and I also have an Instagram account, and to me, I am less emotionally tied to that than I am to my YouTube account, but I still, certainly check the numbers on how many people gave the little thumbs up to my picture of cats or my face or my face on a Yeti model or whatever the case may be. But I've certainly heard on an early episode of Trapped Under Plastic, John was talking about tying his emotions up to his Instagram account, and that's a very easy thing to do in the world that we live in today. Whatever social media platform is your favorite, whether it's a Facebook group or Instagram or YouTube or whatever, it is very easy to have a numerical bar graph on whether or not your latest painting project was better than the one before, whereas it is not necessarily healthy to have that numerical feedback, because if you kind of turn all that off and close your eyes and think about your recent painting projects, which ones you liked, and hopefully, to a degree, you'll like all of them. Yeah.
I think that's where the value is anyways, is that you're doing things that you actually enjoy doing, and you're not doing it for likes or clicks or whatever.
I mean, sometimes.
Look, like, we are playing this game, right?
Right.
But I'm talking generally speaking, like, you want to be doing a project that you like to be doing. Especially in the context of burnout, right? Like, if I was just playing the game of YouTube, well, I wouldn't be painting miniatures.
There's a thought.
Yeah.
That's a thought that'll fester. Yeah. So, I was just thinking of we've got a lot to say about burnout and how to reinvigorate your hobby, how to get away from burnout. But actually, later on in my list of things to talk about here is maybe you should start an Instagram account. Sometimes having the ability to share your work with others and to get some external feedback and, that external motivation, sometimes that is a good thing. So, but before we get too down on posting work online, just identify where you are right now that's a positive or a negative.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person who will get emotionally tied up in those numbers, then maybe think about it a little bit. But if you go into it with a healthy mindset, just saying like, hey, I want to share these things with a certain amount of people. I'm not looking to garner a following and do all these things. Like, I just want to share. Then yeah, I think it can be a healthy way to do that. When I started making videos, it made me want to hobby more because people were interacting with that content and saying like, oh, I like this, or about what if you tried this, or, giving ideas and feedback and all of these things that, then I was seeking. And it did make me want to do more in a good way. Not for me trying to get those likes and numbers, but I wanted to get better.
Yeah, that's a really good point, is on any of these social media platforms, ignore the numbers and pay attention to the comments. That, if anyone is bothering to leave a comment on your drawing of a Norseman, I don't know, or a rack or a witch elf, most people bothering to take the time to write a comment are probably doing that because they like your work, or they think it's interesting, or they've got a cool idea. And I love that side of social media interaction. Getting the feedback and the encouragement and the ideas, like that's where a lot of fun is. And
I agree.
Okay, so, a lot of us have been in this hobby for years. And as with anything, interest, grows and wanes and it goes through cycles. And sometimes that's, based on other things going on in your life. And sometimes you can just get tired of doing the same thing day after day. And, sometimes interests burn out or come back to life. And all of that is natural and reasonable. But what we're talking about today is you realize that you are having a harder and harder time sitting down at your painting desk. You are doing that less and less often. You are beginning to think of that as a chore. You are more likely to turn on the TV after dinner than go and sit at your painting desk, all those things. So let's fix that. Let's get you painting bravely again here.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I do need to say when it comes to that, if you find yourself, sitting down, putting on a movie or playing video games instead of painting, and that's what's making you feel good after like working a full day, then do that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with actually taking a break. I've taken several breaks in this hobby. The longest one was a good solid 20 years, but I was growing up. Like I got to middle school and high school and did other things. And then one day, and I honestly don't even know why, it just came back into my life. Like it clicked. And I was like, I need to go buy some paints right now. And I did. And I literally haven't stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But taking a break was healthy.
Yeah. If you're not having fun, you don't have to do it. We'll talk about ways to start having fun again and start getting some minis painted again. But if you're not having fun, you don't have to do it. And the other side of that is, we talked in our first episode about kind of good hobbies and less good hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say that if you are spending less time painting minis right now because you are really excited about something else, if you are doing yoga practice for a couple hours every night, or if you're really excited about harvesting your raspberries and making jam, or I don't know, if you are like really involved in some other hobby or pursuit, that's awesome. Ride that out, and I'm sure you'll cycle back around to minis in no time. If you are watching reruns on Netflix while eating Funyuns and playing cell phone games, okay, that's cool for, that's a good Friday night, I guess. But I would like to try to talk you out of that if you find yourself doing that for weeks on end.
Very specific situation, I do agree with you. Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna just try and straight up talk you out of doing that because that's probably not the healthiest way to get into a new hobby, I guess, if you want to put it like that.
Have you made a Raid Shadow Legends advertisement yet?
No, I've been offered, but no.
Okay.
No, I have not.
Okay, I was just wondering if we need to say it's okay to play Raid Shadow Legends.
If I am
unless you're eating Funyuns and playing Raid Shadow Legends, in which case let me tell you about my clan. Yeah.
No, it's what is it? World of Warships. As long as it has those Warhammer skins, it counts as hobby, right?
Okay.
Is that it? All right. They did not pay me to. No, I've never played that game either.
Cool. No, I've had phases with different cell phone games, but then I have really come to the realization that they are not good.
Yeah, I played Clash of Clans.
Right.
For like 2.5 years.
Yeah, I was really into the sequel or Boom Beach.
Boom Beach. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Boom Beach.
And we also played that. It was so I worked at a school and it was with a bunch of teachers and a bunch of people. So like we were all in it together, talking about it like at work. So I felt a little better about that, which is why I participated. But then when I quit that job and didn't talk to those people anymore. It was like I found myself still playing, and then I was just like, what am I doing? This is so weird. Like, gotta get those gems, gotta click them buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
So check out Paint Bravely, the podcast, episode 1, if you want to hear us talk about good and bad hobbies.
Yeah.
But I guess where I was going with this is, if you are painting less because you are pursuing a legitimately good and fulfilling hobby, cool.
Yeah.
Do that. When you burn out on that a little bit, you'll come back and paint that Space Marine Librarian Terminator. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you're in a situation where, and I think probably a lot of folks are, especially in 2020, of after dinner you're sitting in front of the TV and it's not a great use of your time, and maybe we should try to talk you into getting back to that painting desk.
Yeah.
Let's start. That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Trying to be your friends and be like, you know what? We're gonna find a way to get you some units painted, some teams painted. Maybe work on those skills, get that bust done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, then let's get into some ways that you can maintain your hobby, even if you're starting to feel that kind of burnout. Like, what can you do to avoid hitting that wall? All right. So one of the things that we have is sustainable hobbying.
So, before we go any further, sustainable hobbying was a mini series on Paint All the Minis podcast about a year ago. Okay, that's why I wrote that down, because no, seriously, it is an amazing resource. Dan, and he had a special co-host on for I think 4 episodes of Paint All the Minis.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about like this hobby as part of overall health, and they went through physical and mental and emotional health, and kind of finding balance in life and with a hobby. And it was a really kind of cool deep dive into what are the effects of spending too much time hobbying, or too much time like thinking about the hobby and not hobbying, or too much time shopping, or and just kind of tied up on all this. If you're enjoying this chat, I highly recommend Paint All the Minis about a year ago. It was actually the 4 episodes after I was on that podcast last year, so maybe download that one also. That should be a fun little blast from the past.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, time flies, man.
That is insane.
We've been locked inside our houses for 6 months, and so
maybe that's what's going on. Yeah.
You add that onto things, and there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the last 6 months didn't happen. It just seriously doesn't seem like that long ago.
Yeah, but time is doing weird things right now, and that is why we're talking about this. Like, if you haven't been leaving your house a whole lot, everything inside your house you might be burned out with everything inside your house, and including your painting desk. And so that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. So one of the ways that I like to avoid having that feeling of like obligation to do something or whatever it is, I like to take a step back. I like to look at all of the stuff that I have available to me as far as a hobby goes, and I like to pick the one that I feel most like doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like doing that, on a regular basis keeps me wanting to paint the next thing, because it's only the thing that's calling out to me. I saw that Pale Man bust. Never even painted a bust before. And I was just like, you know what? I need to paint this. And I did. I sat down and just did it. And I felt really good about it. Like, that definitely makes me want to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I don't know what your desk looks like right now. Maybe it's a mess. Maybe you have a project that's been sitting on there for 2 months that you have not finished. I would suggest clean that desk, put all the paints back in their racks or wherever they go. put that half-finished project away unless you actually feel like working on it. Maybe put it behind some other stuff. Put it in a box somewhere. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a really valuable exercise to just go through your collection, see what you have available. If you're like Casey and you have a 3D printer, you have the world of of available things.
It's
Either
a lot of minis.
yeah, either free or normally for a fairly low price of just printing out a mini that you feel like painting. But even without the online availability of almost any mini you could dream up, you probably have something in your collection that you were really excited about 3 years ago when you bought it, and it's been sitting under some stuff for a while, and the time may be right. If you put away that half-finished project on your table that you are not going to get done anytime soon, go look through your collection, and then you may see, that Escher gang. The time may have come for that Escher gang, Or maybe the Cawdor, I don't know. Goliath.
Not gonna hold it against you. Yeah. I've been sitting on this Necromunda box for a while. A long while. I almost felt it coming back.
Did you?
Yeah. And then someone else made a video about it. I was like, oh, gotta put it away.
Which gang was it?
No, it was about the box.
Oh, the box itself.
The original Necromunda box, yeah. Like I was gonna, it's like it's been sitting on my shelf, and like every so often I kind of catch it out of the corner of my eye, and I go, ooh, I gotta open that box. Gotta paint something out of that box.
Yeah.
And like that new game was coming out.
You snooze,
and I got all excited about it. Yeah, it is exactly what it is too. Like everybody's all into Necromunda right now.
But hey, sometimes that's what it takes, though. That's not a bad thing. So, I mean, you're partially talking from like the YouTube perspective of trying to make something different from what other creators are making.
Yeah.
And, us painters get like that too, of, not wanting to paint ultramarines because that's what everyone else is painting. But if for some reason that communal hype about intellectual property or model or paint scheme, or everyone is painting vaporwave right now, or vaporware, or
you're right the first time. Yeah,
and if you want to get swept up in something, that is not a bad thing.
I mean, it does look cool.
Yeah, it is. The excitement of others can be your excitement if you allow it to be. You let it in. That's a good thing if you can get hyped up for something.
Well, just changing your general style, right? Like instead of doing the whatever it is, GW, base, layer, wash, highlight, done. If you're doing that every single time you pick up a model, regardless of what the model is, probably start to wear on you a little bit after a while, So trying something a little different, that vaporwave is a good example. It's a whole different approach to painting those types of models, and it looks cool. And there's a lot of room in there to experiment. It doesn't have to be 80s neon. You can go all sorts of directions with that. So
just doing that hard reset of, I don't know, if you think you need to, paint through all of your units in this army, and then you get onto your HQ, and that's kind of been in the back of your head, and, whether you've really written it down or committed to it or not, but somewhere in the back of your head, you're thinking that I need to finish this project, and then this project, and this project, and there's, just one of those links in the chain is not sparking joy. It's okay to just throw all that mess back in the box, go through your collection, pick a model that you want to work on, and, if you are welcome to change the paint scheme or change the style, change your painting technique. All of this is available to you. Do what you want with it. Paint bravely. And, beyond that, if you don't have it in your collection, this is one time where, I want to be careful here, but if buying something new will give you a spark, within reason, do it.
eBay is a really good way to do that.
Oh, I was actually going to suggest more of in person.
I mean, yeah, you see the box, you get excited, you pick it up, instant gratification, get those endorphins running, you rush home, open the box, put it together, feeling really excited about that. I'm saying for mitigating like loss of money at a rapid rate to make yourself feel better. eBay is probably the better way to go.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of the initial spark and being able to actually have the model in your hand and be putting paint on it while that spark of interest is really bright, The one fear with online ordering is it takes a couple of days to get to you, at least.
Right.
And by the time, you get it, you might not be in the mood right then when the package shows up, and maybe you're doing the whole decontamination thing and you let it sit in your garage for a couple of days anyway, Like, don't want to get those postman germs. You don't want to get the UPS bug, right?
Right.
So yeah, if you're feeling up to heading out to a local store and you've convinced yourself that nothing that you currently have in your collection is the one for you today, Brent here giving you permission to go to your local store, as long as you're safe about it and a responsible adult, and go and pick out a small item that makes you happy, Go pick out a character or a single unit or single team or
even better, there are those what are they, push fit, usually 3 models per box, and they're like $10. Just saying, that's probably the best you're gonna get if you want a taste of something and have it be no stress whatsoever, and here's $10, whatever. That's
I'm not giving you permission to start a new army. I'll give you permission to buy one unit from an army you do not currently collect. You do not have permission from me to buy 2 units. You have permission to buy 1 unit from an army you do not currently collect. Maybe get yourself some rubric marines. Maybe you get yourself some Guild Ball on deep discount.
It's gonna be.
We're not doing too much of the newsy news today, but maybe you get some Guild Ball on deep discount.
I felt sad for them.
I felt sad for me. It's just another project I haven't completed in time.
But before the company goes under, well, not the company, but the game. Yeah, if you didn't know, Guild Ball is it's basically Blood Bowl, but supposed to be better. I've never played it. Models are really cool, but it's been discontinued and shut down.
Yeah, I think it's football, like European football, like soccer.
Either way.
But you're still presumably pushing a ball to the other side of the field. I don't know.
Yeah. Goals, balls.
And
blood.
It has some cool models, and I have some cool models, and I actually painted a couple of them. Like right before I started Goobertown channel is when I painted the first, and then I haven't painted any more since. But I've got a couple painted. They look all right.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of losing motivation. Not that clearly I didn't have a strong burning motivation to finish those, but with the game being officially kind of winding down here, losing that for now. But then again, maybe now is the great last chance to get these painted. Unless we just let them sit in the box for another 10 years and then they'll be vintage and then they'll have a revival. I don't know. But
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. It seems like one of those games that it'll probably be around for a little while longer. There'll be community rule updates and all the things that keep games alive.
Mm-hmm. Look, maybe you go and you see a couple friends at the game store you haven't seen for a while. You call them beforehand. You say, look, we're going to put on our masks. We're going to stand a good 10 feet apart, and we're going to egg each other on into starting a new game a year from now, and that's a thing. And we'll each buy one unit from a army or game we do not currently play, and we'll get fired up about that.
Yeah.
But retail therapy is a thing. You do get the alleged dopamine hit of purchasing something that you're excited about, and something that was in that sustainable gaming episode of Paint All the Minis was that dopamine hit of buying something new isn't always a bad thing. A lot of times we talk about like, oh, you just get that instant rush from buying something new, and then it's gone. But okay, you do have to think about like what are the rest of the effects there. We're starting off with a pretty good thing. You're getting excited and wrapped up into this thing, at least momentarily, and it doesn't have to be that feeling goes away immediately. If you just throw that purchase onto your pile and forget about it, and then later on the credit card bill and the pile of shame and the storage fees start to eat at you, like, okay, like that was probably a bad thing. But if you buy something because you're excited about it, like that's something a hobby should do. You should be excited about your hobby. That could be the start of a great relationship with that model,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be realistic. If you're buying like 4 start collecting boxes, that is the start to a negative relationship with those models, probably.
Probably, yes. That's don't take on too much at once.
Right.
If your project is out of scope, you're going to have a bad time because you're not going to be able to finish it in the amount of time that you would like to, which brings up a couple of other things. Painting to a certain level, putting a timeline on yourself in order to get certain things done, and then moving on is also very healthy for growth in the hobby, for continuing in the hobby. Something that I have happen quite often, and this goes into other things that I like, specifically TV shows. I don't like to finish the very last whatever it is. So I've had basically a 2,000 point orc army, Iron Jaws orc army, for a long time, since the Iron Jaws came out. And I've basically painted everything to like a really decent level, and it's based. It looks awesome sitting next to each other. But I haven't actually finished the army. I haven't painted the last like 5 brutes. Because there's something about finishing a project or finishing the last little bit of something that kind of puts pressure on you, on me, in saying this is complete. And this paint job is, I'm calling it done. Right? But all these little things enter my mind, and they're not technically correct, right? It's like the paint job I painted is what I could do at the time when I painted them. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean anything about you. If a lot of people get wrapped up in, well, I can't paint well enough, so I don't want to paint something. I don't want to finish something because then it makes it something greater than just a work in progress, right?
Okay.
It's a finished piece.
Yeah, I'm still working on this army versus this is my army, and this
Correct,
is the way
yeah.
I want it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that mentally can cause you to not actually want to push through and do things. And the emotions that weigh down on you because of that are definitely negative from a like having fun and wanting to paint more standpoint. So I would definitely be weary of stuff like that because I know that's something that I have to think about. And how that relates to TV shows is I would definitely rather start a 10 season show over right before the season finale so that I don't know what happens technically, even though you kind of do. So that it's not over.
Whoa. No, I do not have that hang up at all. Wow.
No? I have a really hard time finishing books for the same reason. Like when if I know there's a series that has like just a ton of books, I don't feel that. But if it's the last book in the series and I know there aren't any more, man, that is so hard to get through. Like, even if I want to read it,
Interesting.
It's just difficult.
I mean, I'll admit I had complex emotions going into like the last Star Wars movie, like
Yeah.
I've been with the character of Luke and Han and Leia for so long that maybe
Right.
I don't want them to completely ruin them by the end of this 2.5 hour movie.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Not
okay,
and
okay.
not knowing is probably,
Yeah,
I mean,
not
it's not
knowing
necessarily better, but
not
it
knowing
certainly
whether those
helps.
iron jaws are going to come out looking cool is maybe better than realizing that they came out looking okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, well, the dumb thing is, like, I look at the army and like I'm pretty happy with it. Like,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I
But
watched
instead
those
of
videos of
finishing,
yours at least. I like that army. Yeah. Yeah.
instead of finishing the army, I just painted a bunch of goblins, and I was like, "It's cool reinforcements. That completes 2,000 points. It's all the same."
Interesting. No,
Yeah,
no,
I know.
I don't have that particular problem. I'm more likely to kind of rush near the end if I feel myself getting close
Yeah,
to the
and I
end of
mean,
it.
I've done that too.
Hmm.
It depends on the project. Um, it's usually like a squad for me. Like I'll take my time, and about 3/4 of the way, okay, looking pretty cool. And I kind of get to like the last two, and I'm just like, what? Okay, that's fine. The wash will fix that. That's cool. I'll just highlight this. It looks fine. you know,
Yeah.
I just rush that squad out real quick.
Yeah, that's much more common for me of finish it up quick rather than constantly afraid to finish the Iron Jaws
Yeah,
army. Yeah,
I mean, I'm talking like a couple of years worth of like painting, just whenever I could. So I
yeah.
don't know. It's a weird thing,
Hmm.
and I have to imagine there are other people that like totally get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I have an Iron Jaws army too, and my problem is I haven't started yet. But
Well, that's another thing though, right? Is
sure.
you have an army, and the overwhelming nature of a fully unpainted, unbuilt army is devastating sometimes. So, yeah, it's easier to do something over there,
Yeah.
to watch TV. And I would say that all it really takes is a little bit of planning, a little bit of forethought, and just figuring out what you want to do and just starting slow. You know?
So actually, I was gonna chime in with the complete opposite of that of go big.
Go big. Yeah. You
uh,
build them all in one day. You at
yeah,
least get them primed.
yeah. Find whatever trick or gimmick will get you happily painting, I think is a good thing. And something I was going to mention is I actually really enjoy having the camera on and doing like a time lapse shot, especially if I have a really big project,
Yeah, for sure.
because that is an entirely different type of dopamine hit. But you know, way back
Yeah.
when I did that goblin batch paint of 100 goblins, and it was sitting there, and I had a time lapse, series of images being taken, and I was sitting there telling myself, keep going, keep going. This is going to be so cool. That video, I mean, you can't get
Right.
up and go check it now, but in a couple hours when you can get up and check that time lapse video, I bet it's going to be so cool. And so
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and even like if my podcast episode or audiobook or whatever had like reached a stopping point, I'd be like, all right, don't mess up this time lapse by reaching in your pocket and messing with your phone. You just keep painting brown on those spears. Keep on pushing through. You got a couple
Totally
more
been there.
rows of little dudes left. Keep it going. But
Yeah.
there are lots of ways that either trying for just a little bit of content creation, whether that is actually trying to make a like a real video or a time lapse shot. I mean, a time lapse shot looks awesome on a Facebook post or on Instagram or something like that if you have, the camera equipment to do that. Not that it takes too much.
You can do it on your phones, like as long as it's within the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
There's a time lapse option, and it'll go indefinitely. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Learn something new every day.
You should check your pocket.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find a different way to listen to my podcasts, but
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Got to do time lapse.
See, now what you do is you find an old phone. You just find an old phone.
Yeah.
As long as it can still connect to the internet, you can still listen to podcasts or surf YouTube or do whatever you do.
All right.
Yeah.
Man,
And don't ever sell your phone back to the company.
No, my problem is my last phone just decided to never turn on the screen again. It's clearly still working because it still buzzes like when you'd expect it to buzz. Like, my email account gets an email, like my phone just completely dead buzzes, and it's just like, I wish that screen would turn on. But
all right, just following the rabbit hole. Does it have voice control?
That's the thing about just trying to navigate a phone you barely remember, completely blind. Like,
oh, I know what you mean.
I bet you do. I bet you do. But
I've had weird ways of getting around certain things before. I'm like, I can't afford a new one. Gonna have to make it work.
Hold on, is there a moral or a tip in there? Like, we gotta make this work
harder.
Art from adversity, making something work. Come on, we've got something here.
Well, sometimes things they're not presented in a way that makes it seem very easy, but there's probably a solution and a workaround. And if you're excited about making that thing work, motivated enough, like say, can't afford to get a new phone, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah. Or maybe you're just so angry about all these videos using an airbrush that you are going to paint these goblins with no airbrush because all these hacks on the internet, you are just addicted to the airbrush and they can't live without it. You are going to show everyone how to paint goblins without an airbrush and give you...
See, I would definitely pay to see that. 100 goblins?
Yeah,
zero airbrush.
If you can motivate yourself and break through your burnout with like pure anger and revenge, I think that's okay. In moderation. Like,
yeah. And since revenge is best served cold, it has been far long enough in between that if somebody revenge posted a don't use an airbrush to batch paint 100 goblins video, then bravo. Just applaud.
Bravo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind actually seeing that. You should just rehash that video and then just be like, with one paintbrush.
I may have to rehash that video, but
I mean, I'm sure that if you put the call out, people would send you goblins, and I dare say that the idea should be, I will paint as many goblins as I get sent in one session.
Is this going to be part of the podcast, Casey? Did we just do this?
We just did that. I'm just saying that, hey, if you hit over a certain limit, say you get 300 or 400 actual goblins. Look, like, we can break the work up. I'll take 100. You get over another hump there, another hurdle, we'll just hand it off. Keep handing it off. There's literally 10, 20 people on YouTube painting goblins with one paintbrush apiece, no airbrushes. 100 at a time lapses all day.
Nah, nobody even has any Battle for Skull Pass goblins anymore. It's impossible. Okay,
You're right. It's impossible. My P.O. box is in the description below.
If you want to do some painting out of pure spite or a feeling of superiority or inferiority, but like in a way that's building to something positive, then I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll ignore the strange challenge Casey threw out about that involves mailing hundreds of Battle for Skull Pass goblin archers and spear goblins, back and forth.
I could just see it in my head, this picture of 10,000 goblins. just thinking it could happen.
Ooh, look, we were talking about the dangers of making big, silly commitments that are have the likelihood of burning you out at some point, and so maybe this isn't the episode for this challenge.
That is it. And I guarantee you, if something like that were to ever happen, if we could coordinate something like that, like, there's no way in hell that I would use a paintbrush to do that. Like, no. It's probably going to be rattle cans.
Yeah, what Casey is trying to set up here was not cleared by me, and directly goes against several of the themes that we're trying to communicate in this episode of really understanding yourself and what makes you happy, and what promises that you make yourself that you're actually likely to follow through on, and which ones that we all know you're not going to follow through on, and chasing the achievable goals that bring you joy. But yes. That being said, setting a challenge for yourself, whether that is through an online group or just for yourself, it's a good thing. And look, my cat is at the door, and I think Gordon wants to weigh in on this situation. Casey, fill time.
You did it to me again. So the other half of that, as he gets up and leaves, jeez. So the other half of that, obviously, is that you can set lofty goals for yourself, but know that the bigger the goal is, obviously it's going to take longer, and you're probably more likely to get into a situation that you're not going to want to be in. So you need to break those things up. If I were to paint 10,000 goblins, I would ask for help from friends, and they would gladly, most of the time, jump in and help me.
Okay. As with the last time, I had to get away from my desk to let a cat into the room. Casey filled time in my absence, and this time I come back and he is talking about a 10,000 goblin painting challenge. I just want to remind everyone that I was not here while Casey started talking, and I don't necessarily agree to any of the things he may or... There's Gordon. I knew he wanted to be up here. So, painting challenges, though, as we were talking about, can be a good thing within reason.
Yes, and that was the context for my discussion while you were gone.
Well, I do appreciate you being able to pick up the mic like that and fill in.
Goals, challenges.
Yeah. I mean, it's stupid, but these 24-hour painting challenges, like, they are invigorating, It's a change of pace. It is something new and perhaps interesting to do. I would recommend that you give up at hour 16, or maybe just set, a 12-hour challenge for yourself, because I don't really want to be encouraging anyone to do something that might result in heart failure, but...
And realistically, after, 12 hours or so, like, you're just not doing as good of a job as you think you are. So as much fun and invigorating as that actually is, and which is why you're seeing a lot of people do that lately, right? Because it is fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good for you, but it's fun. So much fun. I'm planning on doing a couple more long, probably not 24-hour straight sessions, but probably like 14 hours, maybe a couple times, 2 or 3 times in a week, something like that. So, yeah, I got an orc army, and it needs paint.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really do enjoy doing like the long time-lapse shots, and I have several projects which will definitely benefit from that sort of thing. And again, the challenge is more of get a certain amount of work done while not being too distracting in the background, and putting things down in nice little neat lines so that
Right.
so that when
So
it's
it looks
sped up a
cool.
million times, it looks really satisfying and cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, reframing your projects and your hobby goals like that doesn't necessarily take much. Like just the addition of a silly camera to the work that you wanted to do on your hobby anyway can change
Hmm.
everything. Um,
Yeah. And I
and
mean, most of us have a camera in our pocket.
mhm,
Your phone has a good enough camera,
yep,
and it probably has a time lapse feature.
yep,
And, there's editing software on your phone.
yep,
So you can make a fun little movie about painting a guy, and throw that up for your friends to see, and they can see what you do in a cool, different way. Or, help encourage someone else to want maybe to join you and paint with you and
yeah,
play games together.
yeah.
Like, you never know.
And actually, one of my probably 2 videos from the time we're talking right now is going to be a Goobertown roulette video.
Woo!
And I'm
About
really excited
time.
about that. And my viewers have been sending me in submissions that have been really awesome this time around. So it kind of puts the
Yeah.
pressure on me to do a good job, or else be completely shown up by several other people in my own video. So
That honestly, like, that's the dream right there, right?
it's gonna happen. Some of these entries that
Yeah.
have been filtering into my email have been really good this time around.
Nice.
But whether it's Goobertown Roulette or some other challenge, I mean, there's tons of mini painting communities out there constantly running challenges, and we're getting close to October now, so a lot of them are setting up their Halloween spooky challenges. And hey,
October.
look into that stuff if that involvement in one of these mini painting communities gets you jazzed up. Yeah, go for it. Really, whatever sparks that interest and that desire to get painting, get hobbying, that's a good thing.
Sometimes on the Facebook groups, I see people shouting out. They'll type something like, "Hey, are there any Discord groups who are looking for people who want to do this kind of thing?" Discord, if you don't know, is an app on your phone, on your computer, whatever. Basically just links you with other people into a server, and you can chat, you can talk voice, it's got voice chat, video chat, all these different things. Really cool way to keep connected. You can message people as well. So there's all sorts of stuff, and it's in one nice, easy to use location, right? But there are a lot of Discord channels that do contests that have different sections in them to help with certain things in your painting, or even things like burnout. It's like, hey, what are you guys doing? I don't want to be painting right now. Let's talk about the hobby, or let's talk about something else. And it's a really good place for people to get that motivation and to be in a community of people who all go through similar things that you do, that we do. And I've found being on Discord a massive help to my hobby in the last year and a half.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. You can find a community through Facebook and Discord groups. You can also just start getting into like Twitch streams. So that's another place where people are live chatting with each other, and have a common interest to chat about. Whoever is on the Twitch stream at that point. So yeah, go on Twitch and look up mini painters and see if there's anybody you like on there. And then yeah, I was serious about if you don't have an Instagram account yet, maybe make one. Post some pictures of previous models you've painted, and then get that Hello, Gordon. Gordon often ends up in my Instagram posts.
A lot, yeah. That's awesome. I've noticed something about pretty much everything that we've said so far.
Oh.
I don't know if you've caught it, or if this was your final, talking point or something, but almost everything we've talked about comes down to community and people, and basically hobbying with other people, being in a group, right? Whether that is Instagram, you're going to find people to communicate with, Discord server, Facebook group, going to your store with people, doing something. I think that one of the biggest things in this hobby is that it is a community thing. It's not something that you traditionally just do on your own. It's not really an alone time, as much as it is when we're sitting there doing
whenever you are done with your point.
All right, that's fine. But as much as it is a thing that you do by yourself, I think that it is made much more entertaining. And I think that you get a lot more value with other people than you do just by yourself. And I think that the reason that burnout and some of these other things have come up a lot in 2020 is because we've been so isolated that it's very difficult to get that sense of community, and which is probably why me bringing up something like Discord has been so helpful for me personally, because yeah, it's like being able to go out and talk to other people and share those things. It's not always about Warhammer, but it shouldn't be.
Okay, I actually strongly agree with your point. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Now,
sweet.
Yeah. Whether that's text-only Discord or whether you're actually talking to people on there, using your voice while you're doing some painting, and I had some ideas about how to just bring more fun to your hobby table with or without other people.
Sure.
And if it,
I think it's still valid.
We don't have to be, when we're talking to other human beings, we don't have to be talking to other humans who are painting.
Yeah.
I've actually, some of my old college friends have started doing happy hour kind of Zoom calls, and we all get on one of their work Zoom accounts and hang out for a little while. And, most of them are sitting on their couches with their wives and children, but I'm sitting there at my painting desk and I am painting a Yeti with my face on it.
And they're all asking you to explain why that Yeti has a Brent face on it. No. Well, fellas.
but no, we do live in a time where it is possible to communicate with all of your friends throughout your life. And they are looking for a little bit of human contact themselves, and a voice chat or a video chat is absolutely something that you can do while you've got a mini in your hands. And we've talked about this a little bit before, but online role-playing groups, depending on your group, it's probably pretty easy to at least be assembling minis while...
At least be assembling them, because it is kind of that mindless part of the job. At least for a lot of kits. There are obviously some kits that are more difficult, but for the most part, like scraping mold lines, yeah, you can just use your eyes, continue talking, scraping, So, yeah.
And then, on my list of other ways that you can get excited to go sit at your hobby desk, and it almost seems like a letdown now, but there are ways just to get excited by yourself. So, I was thinking about it. We're changing seasons here right now. Like these cats are getting more cuddly as it's getting cooler outside.
It's getting a little colder.
Yeah. But along with that, it's time to dig out your furry slippers again. It is time to dig out your fleece sweatpants. It is time to get that warm bathrobe that you love so much out.
Right.
You could put on your bomber cap with the fluffy ear flaps. I don't know, but it's it's time to change up your daily routines a little bit. And you can absolutely make your painting space like a really comfy, cozy place to be. And, kind of... Right, the cat stole a wire off of my desk. It was not an important wire, but...
It just took your microphone cable. It's gone. Oh,
It was
great.
an HDMI cord. I didn't need it at the moment, and Gordon is not currently chewing on it. So,
As long as it's not plugged in.
yeah, no harm, no
Still be
foul.
fine. Yeah.
But, yeah,
Changing.
get that hobby desk to be part of your routine. Have something fun about it. Talking about Vince, he has an apron that he puts on when he goes to paint, and that's just his thing. If you have a funny little apron that you want to put on and go sit at your desk, Uncle Adam at Tabletop Minions, he's got a fez that he wears. I don't know if he wears it while he paints. I think sometimes.
I can't remember specifically. I mean, I've seen it a few times. I'm not sure if it's when he's painting though.
I like the idea. It's what I prefer to imagine.
I mean, if you imagine Uncle Adam in general, like him sitting down painting with a fez on is preferred.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do that.
Yeah, get yourself like a Mr. Rogers routine of, you come home from work, you take off your work shoes, and you put on your slippers, and a little cardigan, and maybe a silly hat and an apron, I don't know, and then you go sit down at your painting desk, make it part of your routine. And, along with that, hot chocolate or hot chocolate with peppermint schnapps. But for real though, you can build food and, to a degree, drugs into your routine. Get some caffeine, maybe some menthol cough drops. Like, I remember like getting excited for like a long night of homework by getting my Funyuns and my spicy hot Cheetos and my menthol cough drops and my gummy bears, and you got your Arizona iced tea.
Hang on, I gotta stop you. Menthol cough drops? What are you talking about?
Pro hobby tip.
Yeah? Funyuns, chips, menthol. There's no connection.
Well, don't knock it till you try it. Pro hobby tip. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
I'm just curious about your choices. That's all. Just wondering. Just throwing in unnecessary medications.
Are you gonna complain when I make the real suggestion of a nice cup of port wine, chilled?
Why would I?
I don't know. You didn't like menthol cough drops, so.
No, I'm just curious as to why menthol cough drops isn't a list with Funyuns in it.
Before and after the Funyuns, menthol cough drops. No, is this not a thing?
Like Altoids? I'm confused at why it's cough drops.
You have Altoids, I have menthol cough drops, the good cough drops.
Okay. All right. I just needed a little bit of clarification as to why you are pounding cough drops like Funyuns.
Only one at a time.
Well, sure.
Okay.
You can't have two in there. Too much menthol. It's too much.
But whatever makes your experience cozy, whatever you associate, if you start to associate, music or certain foods or drinks or fluffy slippers with your painting area, sure, cool. Yeah, I mean, don't eat too many menthol cough drops. Like, no, that's not a good thing. You can only
actually have like 4. It's like one every couple hours or something.
Yeah.
There are instructions on the bag.
Yeah,
you can eat a box of
follow
Altoids.
the instructions. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a vapor myself, but like I know several people. Like, that's a big part of the routine. Like, all right,
yeah,
do what you do. Yeah, I eat menthol cough. I should get some. It's been a while, but that's
'tis the season.
Yeah, 'tis the season. Got to put that on my list. Yeah.
I do enjoy the menthol flavoring.
Planted that seed.
I mean, I like Altoids and stuff. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get over this. We can leave this for another episode because I don't understand.
Look, you let me know when you've painted your first mini with Funyuns and menthol cough drops, and you do want to wait a little while for the flavors to kind of subside, but then port wine.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then port wine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Funyuns, then kind of let it simmer.
Mm-hmm.
Then the menthol to, what is that, like a palate cleanser?
Mm-hmm. And then you really want to let that self-cleanse before you get into the port wine.
Okay. I mean, port wine is good.
Yeah, port wine is very good. I got to put that on the list too. Yeah.
I'm gonna spot some today. It's at a store.
Mm-hmm.
At a wine sale. I didn't.
Yeah, thinking about what the perfect drink is for painting minis, I think it's port wine.
It might be, because you're probably going to drink that pretty slow.
You're going to do it slow, and it's much more of a chill thing. It's not like, tequila or even beer just seems like the wrong pace.
Beer is definitely the wrong pace, because you're kind of drinking that like soda almost.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you're not just pounding it, but I suppose it depends on who you are, but you're probably going to start to feel those effects before you finish a single model.
Yeah, if you're of legal age and it's safe to go to the liquor store or the grocery store, depending on where you live, you look into some nice, cheap port wine, a nice kind of dessert wine. Yeah,
bottle of Chianti.
Yeah, a nice bottle of Chianti. Yeah. I mean, that should get you over hobby burnout, right?
I mean, I do feel like, honestly speaking, like, yes, having a couple drinks and just laying back, throwing on some Netflix, and like, if I paint some stuff, cool. If I, cut some stuff up, cool, whatever. As long as I feel good while I'm hobbying, put yourself in the position it makes you feel good while you're doing it.
Yep.
And you'll probably avoid having a bad time and burning out.
Yeah. Give yourself those bribes only while you're watching Netflix at your hobby desk, though. Don't
Don't
like
get
bring
your
your Funyuns and your port wine over to your couch to watch Netflix, because then that's your evening. But if you really associate that fun stuff with your hobby desk, and as a serious
once
tip,
you start
again,
popping those,
you get the right associations built in. Kenny at Next Level Painting talks about, he listens to audiobooks, but he, makes a little deal with himself. He only does that while he's painting.
Yes.
And so it's like, that treat for himself, that association of, okay, it's story time. Story time is when I paint Space Marines. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I find that trick works fairly well when it is a book I'm into and it's not the last book in a series.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Another strange tip that may resonate with some people.
Like one of you.
Okay.
And you're going to be glad that I said it, so you're welcome.
Okay. If Casey's tip about not finishing something that you start resonates with you, please leave a comment. If you like menthol cough drops, please leave a comment, and we'll see.
Okay, I didn't
Casey.
say I didn't like menthol cough drops, okay? That's not what I said. If I'm going to buy cough drops because I have a cough, then yes, I prefer menthol. I like menthol honey, in fact, but that's different.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you
is, if you're
going to
buy 100 pack and
drops?
you're going to keep on eating them long after the cough is gone, prefer menthol. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do it, yeah. But the why? It's the why. It's the why.
Leave a comment in the video space below. Yeah. Leave a comment on this web zone, and we'll get back to you.
And on that note, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. As always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
It's 2 a.m. on the East Coast. I am so sorry about this episode, but I thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.
No apologies.
Next time. hobby, and that's a good thing. And
Some of these
no, I'm waiting for you, buddy. You got this.
Okay. I'm trying not to interrupt. We don't like crosstalk so much on this podcast, and it's a good thing. But sometimes we don't know what we're doing.
You forgot what you were going to say.
No, I didn't. So sometimes I see on these Facebook groups, Matt, you can cut around that.
Leave it in.
No. Okay, Matt, the editor is going to make that final call. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then thank Matt. Matt, thank you.